Once again, good morning, everyone. And let me introduce myself. I am Pawan, and I'll be handling the Power BI course for you all. And I work for a reputed MNC, and I have more than 8 years of experience into IT. And I work as a data analyst. And yeah, I for many years I have worked into Power BI and as a BI developer. Okay. And yeah, that's about myself. And let me now introduce quickly to the syllabus that will be a part of this Power BI particular course. Just a second. Let me start sharing my screen, and please let me know once the screen is visible. I hope the screen is visible to you all.
Yeah, Bhuvanesh as well.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, in this Power BI course of ours, we will be starting with the introduction to the Power BI, which involves the introduction as far as the usage and application of Power BI is concerned. What is Power BI, and what are the building blocks and components of Power BI, and overall know-how of the graphical user interface of Power BI. And also, we will be dealing with the steps to install the Power BI. And once that is complete, we will be moving on to uh, the second part, that which mostly involves importing of data into the Power BI and transforming the data within Power BI. So basically, it involves getting the data from various sources into the Power BI, like let's say SQL Server or maybe MySQL, or getting the CSV or Excel files, flat files. Okay, so connecting to those data sources from the Power BI and getting the data into the Power BI. And once the data is into the Power BI, how we can do the ETL within the Power BI, because there is a ETL component within Power BI which is called as Power Query Editor. Okay, and although it is not as exhaustive as some of the dedicated ETL tools like Informatica and the some of the tools from Azure, but still it has some capabilities in terms of doing the ETL within the Power BI itself. So we will be examining how to uh, get data and transform data within the Power BI. Okay, and within that we also deal with different storage modes in Power BI. Like there are modes of different connection. Like there is direct query mode, there is a live connection mode, and there is one more thing which is most important or most often used, which is called as import. So we'll be dealing with all of these in very much detail. And within that, we'll be also dealing with various functions of query editor, like the cleaning the data, trimming the data, removing unwanted columns, rows, replacing the values, handling of blanks and nulls, handling the errors, how to do pivoting and unpivoting, merging the data, merging the columns, appending the various tables, okay, and how to get the aggregate data or summarize data, how to create custom columns, okay. So all these things, and also how to use the parameters, because parameters are most widely used in Power BI nowadays. So all those things we will be dealing with in the get data and transform data part of this course. And once that is done, that is, once we are done with getting the data into the Power BI and also done with cleaning it and transforming it according to our need, we'll be moving to the next part, that is how to do the data modeling within Power BI. And we will be also dealing with the data warehouse concepts before actually doing the data modeling, because we ought to know the some of the basics of data warehouse based on which the data modeling actually works. So once we are done with the data warehouse concepts, Then we will go on to the need of a data model, like what is the star schema, what's the snowflake schema, what are the advantages of each and every different kind of schemas, okay, and when and where we are using those, okay, and how do we create the relationships and what cardinality do we maintain between the tables, okay, and the cross filter directions and how to activate and deactivate the relationships. And not just that, we also will deal with some of the concepts like how to use the composite key in Power BI model, how to deal with the bridge tables. Okay, so all those things will be covered as far as the data modeling in Power BI is concerned. And after that, we'll be doing the data visualizations in Power BI, because visualizations are very important part of any BI reporting tool, because visualizations are the ones which you will be presenting to business and the data, I mean, the data from in to the business end. Okay, so there what we will do, we'll understand the type of the visuals and which visual to be used in which particular business scenario, like which are the cases where we can use the bar charts, or wherein we can use the line charts, or let's say cluster charts, okay, and what are the matrix visual, what are the simple table visuals, the difference between the matrix and the table, okay, and all those things, and what are the different kinds of filters in Power BI and how the filters can be applied. There are different ways to apply the filters. I mean, there is something like the basic filtering, then there is advanced filtering, and also there is top end filtering. Okay, so all these things we will be covering in this. We also will be dealing with usage of the bookmarks, because bookmarks find a wide variety of usage presently in Power BI. So what is the use case scenario of bookmarks? What are bookmarks? That all we will cover. And also we'll cover about the drill through and drill down as far as the hierarchical level is concerned. And then we'll deal with the tool tips, then the page navigation buttons, then the KPI cards, waterfall charts, and also we will cover some of the custom visuals that we can use in Power BI. Okay, and yeah, this is also this is one of the important parts, which is data visualization, because that is what the actual report is. Okay, and yeah, then the next part, it actually deals with the DAX, that is the data analysis expressions, and data analysis expressions is where we do the calculated fields, or we basically create the calculated fields, namely calculated columns and measures in Power BI. And in here, it is very important for us to know the difference between row context and filter context. And that is important because if you know the row context and filter context, how that works, only then you will be able to figure out how to calculate a calculate column or a measure in that particular scenario. And within this, we'll be using many widely used functions within the Power BI, like aggregation functions, iterator functions, okay, then text functions, date functions, time functions, time intelligence functions, okay, and yeah, so and summarize functions. So various functions we'll be using in the DAX part of the Power BI, okay, and once this is done, we'll be moving on to the part where we present our dashboard or reporting to the business center. And the way it is done in Power BI is we publish the dashboard onto the cloud platform, which is called as the Power BI service. Okay. And within the Power BI service, we will discuss about what actually the Power BI service is. That is the basic introduction to it. And what are the three licenses that are available, and what comes with each license, like what comes with the free license, what comes with the pro one, and what comes with the the premium or premium per user one. Okay. And then we'll deal with how to create the workspaces, publish our reports into the workspaces, okay, creating the dashboards within Power BI service, okay, how to download the gateways and schedule the refreshes, and yeah, doing the RLS, okay, and also how to implement the incremental refresh. So all these things we will be dealing with while covering the Power BI service. And as a part of this whole course, as we go on gradually from this end to this end, we also will be developing one dashboard from end to end in the Power BI, which covers all the concepts that we have covered here. And also, at the end of the course, we'll be dealing with how to deal with the interviews as far as the BI developer or BI developer role with expertise in Power BI is concerned. So it covers the conceptual interview questions. It also covers the scenario-based interview questions, and we'll be dealing with the resume building as well. So this is actually the outline, or we can say high-level outline of this course. So anyone has any doubt with respect to this? Yes.
No questions on PowerPoint on the topics and contents of that. But
Yeah.
do we like did that in the tax itself? Is it going to be in the deep or something like to summarize the shows, the things you shows only those things are only going
See,
then
let me talk about that. As far as the DAX functions are concerned, I'll be going into these in very much detail. And these are just the functions which are mentioned here. But as far as the actual course and the hands-on is concerned, I will also be explaining how to make the dashboard dynamic. And the way to make the dashboard dynamic is by making use of measures. So it will consist of usage of many things with the help of DAX, like the usage of the selected value measure, the usage of switch function, okay, and how to use, I mean, with the date dimension, how to do the time intelligence functions so that it can be helpful in real-time scenarios. So all those things I will be covering. Yeah.
thank you, thank you, Mohan.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So so this is about the syllabus, and let's move on to the actual course. That is, let's start with the introduction to the business intelligence. Yeah. So okay. So in broader terms, the business intelligence, it can be summarized by this picture. So what is there in this? So basically what's happening here, on the left side, we have this table, or we can call it as a spreadsheet. Okay. And if you just look into the spreadsheet, you'll not be able to analyze many things from this spreadsheet. All you can see in this spreadsheet is it has certain columns. Maybe it has certain columns with numbers, and maybe it has columns with strings. But ultimately, apart from that, you will not be able to figure out much just by having a look at that spreadsheet. So from that, what we do is we convert this kind of data into this data which you're seeing at the right end of this slide. Now, let's see what this contains. So this particular tile, it shows us the YTD sales, that what is the year-to-date sales, and it tries to figure it out from this kind of data. And then let's have a look at this. It shows the top 5 products with the YTD sales. Okay, what are the top 5 products with higher sales? That it shows. And there is this third slide, which shows you the geographical distribution of sales throughout United States. Okay, so this kind of analysis or this kind of reporting, which can be done through the raw form of data, and this whole procedure, it is called as the BI developing, or this is called as business intelligence. Okay, so this is mainly the business intelligence that happens in industries in day-to-day scenarios. Okay, so let's have a look at the high-level architecture of the BI intelligence, or the data analysis as a whole, as it happens in the industries. So the first thing that comes into picture here are the data from various sources. For example, some of the data, it might be stored in the RDBMS, that is Relational Database Management Systems. Some of the data might be from the Excel, or let's say Microsoft Access database, or some of the data might be from in the form of flat or text files. And there might be some other data which may be coming from, let's say, the transaction systems, the SAP systems, and many other systems, for example, okay, or like say the bank softwares to collect the data. Okay, so what happens in industries is you have the data coming from the different sources, and that actually is brought into this part. Now, what is this part? This particular stage, this is called as the staging environment. Okay, and the staging environment is where the ETL happens. ETL actually stands for extract, transform, and load. Okay, now the thing about this ETL process is that there are some dedicated tools which are, whose purpose is to do ETL. For example, there is this Informatica, okay, and then there is the Azure Data Factory, okay, and there are other various tools from different companies like Oracle, IBM. So they have some dedicated ETL tools, okay, and those tools, what they do, they basically extract the data from various sources, and within that, we'll be able to clean the data in the sense removing unwanted columns, unwanted rows, and if we don't want the blank into our data, we can remove the blanks. If there are certain errors associated with the data, those can be removed here as well. And if you want, let's say, the data in the aggregate form or transaction form, so that you can do it here as well. So this whole process is called as the ETL, that is extract, transform, load. Okay, and once the ETL on the data has been done, so it is then sourced to the data warehouse. Now, the data warehouse is actually the set of tools which are used to actually store the data. And the data warehouse, in the sense, it consists of historical data, that is archived data, as well as the data which comes in daily. Okay, so it consists of everything, the new data as well as the historical data. Okay, and for example, let's say you are dealing with the sales project, or let's say the project related to the financials. So this data warehouse consists of each and every aspect of the sales of that business. So let's say what are the inputs coming from the different vendors. Okay, so what is the sales or transactions happening from various outlets of this business. Okay, so all these things, this will be consisting of. Okay, and the thing about data warehouse is that out of the big data, okay, that is stored here, you can only extract a small part of it which is required for your analysis. For example, let's say this data consists of the total business, which is the total business which a company does. And let's say you want only the financial data from that. Okay, so that you can extract, that is the tables which show you the financial transactions or the financial data that you can extract, and that can be called as the data mart. So the data mart can be defined as a subset of data warehouse. And the data mart basically consists of the data which is required for the current analysis. So for example, let's say you are doing the financial analysis. This can be the data which deals with the finance. If let's say you are doing the HR analysis, so then this data mart can be dealing with the employee details or the human resource details. Okay, so all these things we call it as data mart. Okay, and then afterwards, this particular data mart, okay, this will be supplied to the BI tools. Now the BI tools, when I say BI tools, actually mean the tools like Power BI, Tableau, ClickView or ClickSense. There's also a thing called as Spotfire. Then there's also some tools like Grafana. So all these tools, they come under this part, that is the BI tools. Okay, and within the BI tool, what we do, we getting this data, do the data modeling, do the calculated columns and tags measures, and ultimately come up with the reporting. Okay, and the reporting which actually looks like this in the end. Okay, this is done in Power BI, but ultimately this is the type of report that will be presented to the business end. Okay, so this is about the high level architecture of the business intelligence, how it looks like, the overall view. Okay, and yeah, this is the thing about the data warehouse. It consists of the raw data, the summary data, or the metadata. Metadata in the sense the information about the data which is present in this. Okay, and that is divided into various data marts, like a specific data which belongs to the sales part of it, specific data which belongs to the marketing part of it, and some data which is concerned with the employees. So these are the data marts. Okay, so any doubts till now?
No.
Now, so the reason to use or reason for actual usage of the BI tools is this thing, that is the raw data which is present in the form of the spreadsheets or Excel sheets or some SQL database server. Okay, that is just hard to read and draw the final conclusions from. So that's the reason we convert this into this, and this process is actually called as the BI or business intelligence. Okay, and these are some of the tools which are widely used as far as the business intelligence is concerned. Okay, so these are various tools. Okay, and now recently Power BI has developed more demand compared to its counterparts. Okay, and there are certain reasons for it. One of the prime reasons for that is Power BI is able to connect by default to more than 70 or 80 data sources. There is a direct connector for them. Okay, so this is one of the very big advantages that Power BI has over the different tools. Okay, and there's also one more thing, that there is lots of customization possibility as far as the reporting in Power BI. Okay, so that is one of the biggest advantages as far as Power BI is concerned. And with Power BI, you can integrate with the other components which comes from Microsoft, like Microsoft Office 365. You have the integration with the SharePoint in Power BI. Okay, so it comes with all these advantages, and also there's a team integration with Microsoft Teams, also with Power BI. So the thing is, you are aware that in most of the companies, they use the Microsoft components, some of the components which are used by default, like Outlook, like let's say Teams, so, and also the SharePoint folders. So Power BI has kind of a default integration with them. Okay, so you can directly share a PBX within the SharePoint folder. So that's the thing, and it acts as an add-on advantages as far as the Power BI is concerned compared to its counterparts. Okay, now the thing about Power BI is it is not a single tool, but it actually is a stack of components. There are different components in Power BI. Okay, and namely, the first one or the very important component of the Power BI is Power BI Desktop. Most of the work that you are going to do in your day-to-day BI life in any industry is down to this component, which is called as Power BI Desktop. Now, the Power BI Desktop is an application. It is a desktop application which looks like this. Okay. So this is Power BI Desktop is what we are talking about. But there are also different applications. Like let's say there is Power BI Service. Now the Power BI Service is the cloud-based application. So we can call it as the SaaS application, the software as a service application. This is, or we can also call it as a web-based application. So it works on the cloud platform. Okay. So the Power BI Service actually looks like this. Is this screen visible to everyone? And in cloud, in Power BI Service, let me show you one of the workspaces. So this is a workspace where you can store your work as far as the BI intelligence is concerned. So Power BI Service, it looks like this. Actually, the address is app.powerbi.com. And if you log on to that, so you'll be having the access to Power BI Service. Within Power BI Service, you can store your reports, your data sets, your dashboards. Okay, so that's the Power BI Service. And actually, the thing is that you will always present your work to the business end, not from Power BI Desktop, but by publishing that work into the Power BI Service. Okay, so that is very important to know. Okay, and then there is also Power BI mobile app. Now this is actually not oftenly used. Okay, this is just a handy app. Let's say if your business managers, or if let's say your business end is traveling, okay, and they want some handy app to analyze your data as well. So you can bring in the visuals or reports which you have created into the Power BI mobile app as well. But the limitation is since in data analysis, it is important for us to know the numbers, and Power BI mobile app, its layout will be smaller compared to the desktop app. So having a look at it will be a kind of a tedious affair compared to these two. Okay, it'll be a smaller version. Okay. Then we'll be having the Power BI servers. So let's say if you have all the data which is stored in your on-premise servers, so this is what is installed in those industries, that is Power BI servers. Okay, and also there is the Power BI report builder, and this is actually used to develop the thing called as paginated reports. Now, for similar purpose, there is one more tool which can be used, which is called as SSRS. Okay, SQL Server Reporting Service. So this looks actually very similar to SQL Server Reporting Service, SSRS. So it does what SSRS does. SSRS is also used to build the paginated reports, and so is Power BI Report Builder. Okay, so this is the thing about it. And as far as this course is concerned, our main focus will be on Power BI Desktop and Power BI Service, because when anyone says Power BI or they are working on Power BI in the industry, the work will be based on only these two things, that is Power BI Desktop as well as Power BI Service. Okay, so let's have a look into what all can be done in the Power BI Desktop and the other components. So in the Power BI Desktop, we can do ETL with certain limitations. That is, we can clean and transform the data, extract, transform, load the data. Then we model the data. we visualize and analyze the data. Okay. And in Power BI service, that is the cloud platform, this is basically used to publish your work, share your work with the business, and use the collaboration from your colleagues to do the work. Okay, you to collaborate your work with your colleagues. So that also can be done. Okay, and ultimately, the Power BI mobile here it just is used not to develop anything, but it can be used to just view or review the content which already has been created by some Power BI developers. Okay, so this is about the different components of Power BI. Any doubts with respect to this, people? Okay.
No problem.
Sure. So we'll let's move on further. Okay. So next thing is the building blocks of Power BI. So the building blocks of Power BI are the data sets, then the visualizations, the tiles, reports, and dashboards. Now you might say that reports and dashboards are actually same, because in data analysis or the business intelligence field, the term reports and dashboards are used synonymously. Okay, but as far as Power BI service is concerned, there is difference between reports and dashboards. Okay, I'll tell you when we deal with Power BI service, but do remember that in Power BI service, that is in cloud platform of Power BI, there is a kind of distinction between the reports and dashboards. But overall, when you talk about the BI developing these terms, the reports and dashboards are used synonymously. Okay, and now let's talk about the data sets. The data sets is the thing where you bring in the data from different sources and ultimately perform some ETL onto it, and that thing is called as data set. And data set is the one which is kind of ready to use. Okay, data, and when I say ready to use, data set does not need any further transformation. Okay, so this is a ready to use kind of thing. Data sets can be produced from Power BI desktop as well. Okay, so that is the thing about data sets. Okay, then there is visualizations in the sense the ones which you are seeing here. So these are called as the visualizations, different kind of visuals, like let's say the map visual, there is this table visual, there is this bar chart, there is this donut chart. Okay, so these are the different visuals when we talk about the visualizations. Okay, and then there is this tiles in the sense every visual takes a bit of space and has a bit of border. So this whole thing is called as one tile. Okay, this is one tile, this is another tile. So these individual visuals can also be referred to as tiles. Okay, and then we have reports. Report in the sense this whole thing can be called as one report. Okay, this whole thing can be called as one report. And sometimes these are called as dashboards as well. But as far as Power BI service is concerned, there is fine line between reports and dashboards. Okay, I'll tell you once we are dealing with the dashboards. Okay, so hope this point is clear. The building blocks of Power BI with everyone. Yes.
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 Yeah. Now let's try having look into more detail into the GUI of Power BI. Okay, that is the graphical user interface of the Power BI desktop. Okay, now the important thing to be noted here is that Power BI desktop has three views. Okay, the view which you are seeing right now, this is called as the report view. Okay, this is called as the report view because this is where you can see all the reports, or you can develop all the reports in this particular thing. And actually, before developing any report, it will be visible like this. It has this particular space, this empty space actually is called as the canvas. Okay, and this view is called as report. Now there's one more view in this, which is called as data view. And the data view shows all the tables that you have in Power BI. Okay, so the individual tables can be accessed by clicking on those particular tables on the right side panel. You can see this. So this is the data view. And as I said, in the data view, you can have a look at the various tables that you have brought into the Power BI. And then there is one final view, which is called as the model view. And the model view has the details on how those tables which you have brought in to the Power BI are interconnected with each other. Okay, what kind of relationship cardinality they have in between. Okay, so this kind of detail we have it in the model view. Okay, so this is called as data model view. Okay, so this is what it is. Okay, here you will be having the information about which tables are connected and what kind of cardinalities do they have between them. Okay, so this is about the three important views of Power BI. Okay, that is data view, or it's also called as the table view, report view, wherein the visuals are stored, and ultimately the model view, where you can actually see your data model. Okay, so that's about it. Now, let's come to, before ETL, let's come to the workflow. Okay, now how the workflow actually happens in Power BI. Okay, or step by step, what's the basically way in which the work actually goes on happening in the Power BI. This is very important for us to know. So the first thing that starts in the Power BI is connecting to different data sources. Okay, so this is the first thing, that is you get the data into the Power BI, and for that you basically connect to different data sources. And the way to connect to the different data sources in Power BI is you have this icon here which says get data, and when you click on get data, you have the option to connect to different types of data. Like you have the Excel workbook here, the Power BI data sets. I'll tell you Power BI data sets later once we deal with it. But yeah, that's also there. Then there is SQL Server. Then there is analysis services, that is SSAs is what it is referring to. Then we can bring in the data from the web, and we have more sources that can be connected to, like these. Okay, so if you see, there are more than 70 or 80 different, or there might be even more now. Okay, because Power BI keeps on updating every month. Okay, so these are the different data sources to which we can have a direct connection from Power BI, and that's the way to get the data into the Power BI, that is going to the get data option. Okay, so this is what I'm referring to. And then after that, we have this part, that is transform the data. Basically, this is a small ETL tool of Power BI, which is called as Power Query Editor. And the way to go to the Power Query Editor is this. We have to go to click onto the Transform Data tab. And once we do that, we'll be taken to a completely new window, which is Power Query Editor. And if you have a look at it, now Power BI Desktop, it consists of two windows. One is the Power BI Desktop, which consists of the three views: report view, table view, and the data model view. Whereas this new window which has appeared here, this consists of the Power Query Editor. And what all options we have here? If you look into it, there is option to choose the columns you want, remove the columns you want, keep the rows you want, remove the rows you want. And there are certain advanced operations as well, like doing the transpose, doing the count of rows, detecting the data types, okay, pivoting or unpivoting the columns. extracting something from the columns, merging the columns, okay, performing the mathematical or statistics operation. All these things can be done within Power Query Editor. Right now, you don't worry about it. We will go in detail on getting the data into the Power BI and doing the Power Query Editor usage as well. But right now, I'm just dealing with this part, that is the workflow part, where I'm just trying to give you a basic idea of what all happens within Power BI Desktop. Okay, so this is the Power Query Editor part where you can do the ETL within Power BI. Yeah, okay. Then we have the modeling of the data, which happens once we have got the data into the Power BI and perform some ETL onto it. Then we move on to modeling. And modeling, as I said, it happens in the model view within Power BI Desktop. Okay, so this is data model view, wherein you can connect different tables, let's say different facts and dimensions tables into the Power BI Desktop, and you can establish the relationship cardinality between them. Like, for example, 1-to-1, one-to-many, many-to-many, okay? And you can also control the cross-filter direction. You can set it to single direction, or you can even set it to bi-directional as and when required by you. Okay, so that's the thing about the data modeling that happens. Okay, and after that, what we do is we create the calculated fields or columns, or we also create the measures also. So those are basically these things which we are talking about here. You can see the measures here. So there are various measures that have been created here, like what is the YTD sales, YTD profit. So all these formally based calculations. So all these things are called as measures. And there are also the calculated columns that can be done. Like, for example, here we have the date table or the date dimension table, where we have, based on this date, we have calculated the year, the month number. Okay, so these are the calculated columns. Okay? So that is this part of it. And once this part is done, that is, once you are done with the calculated fields, then you actually go on to create the reports and visualizations. That is this part. Okay, create the reports and visualizations. Okay, and once that is done, and there is one more thing to it. Okay, in some of the projects, you also have the QA between these two. Now, QA in the sense, once your reports and visualizations are done, you will send your work to the QA department or the QA engineers, and what they will do is, based on your report, they will try to find some faults in it, some bugs if there are any, and they'll give you feedback, and you have to work on their feedback, and you have to get rid of those bugs, and then again you have to send it to them, and when it is QA okayed or tested, then you can go on and publish your work into the Power BI cloud platform services. Okay, so this is how the workflow happens as far as Power BI is concerned. Any doubts with this, people?
No problem.
Yeah. Okay. So this is about the thing, that is the workflow. Okay. And now let's try to briefly introduce the Power Query Editor. Okay. So the thing about Power Query Editor is that you can have the access to Power Query Editor just by going to the transform data. Just by clicking on the transform data, you'll be having access to the Power Query Editor. Okay. Now, there is very important thing about this. At the left portion, okay, you can see various tables that are there in your Power BI Desktop or Power Query Editor. Okay, and at the right side, you can see the applied steps. And when I say applied steps, let's say if you have removed certain rows from certain columns. Let me try connecting to this. Let's see. I think it's a very old dashboard that I have created, and it needs the pathway to be mentioned again. But let me just try to give you a brief outline of the Power Query Editor, what it looks like. We will do each and every Power Query editing steps in very much detail. Don't worry about that. Right now, what I'm trying to do is just to give you a brief outline of what all can be done in Power Query Editor and how it looks. Okay. So at the left panel, as I said, there'll be the different tables that you have got into the Power BI, and in the right panel, you will be having the steps that you perform in the Power Query Editor. Okay, and this space actually will show the data as it does in Power BI Desktop in the data view. Similarly, I mean, it will be visible exactly like this in this space. Okay, and there are different tabs in this. One thing is this home tab, where you can do certain transformations like splitting the column group by, replacing the values, merging queries, appending queries. Okay, all these things you can do in here, but you can do certain things in the transform tab as well. Now, if you look at that, the group by is available in the home tab as well as the transform tab. Okay, and within the transform tab, there are certain other functions that are accessible to be performed, like doing the transpose, doing the pivot, unpivot, okay, or splitting the column again, and then using the algebraic functions or statistical functions. All these things, all these transformations can be done within the transform tab. And then there is add column tab. Let's say, for example, you want to add any custom column. Okay, if you want to add any custom column, so this is the way to go. You can create columns from examples, you can create custom columns, you can invoke the custom functions, okay? And you can create some conditional columns, you can create index columns. If you don't have the primary key in your data, you can do that by using this option, that is creating the index column. You can create the duplicate columns as well, okay? And there are various other functionalities in this. So our main work happens in these three tabs, that is home, transform, and add column. Within the view tab, we have these three things importantly, that is column quality, column profile, and column distribution. Don't worry about it right now. We will be dealing in detail with what all these things deal with while doing the actual ETL within the Power BI. Okay, we will get the data from different sources and do the ETL as well. All these things we will do as far as the Power BI or Power Query Editor is concerned. So this is the outline of the Power Query Editor, how it looks like. Okay, now as far as this course is concerned, okay, so the important highlight of this course is not just the conceptual part, but we also will be doing the things like the practical things which will be happening in day-to-day business intelligence scenarios. So I'll be sharing that also with you. So that is my knowledge with respect to how to do the things like how to achieve the dynamic capabilities in the visualizations, how to create certain custom columns as and when required. Okay, so basically I'm talking about the things which actually happens in the industries with the business case scenarios that I'll be doing in this class. Okay, and so because that is very important part, because just having a tool knowledge is one part, but the part about actually using this tool for our use case scenario, that is very important part. So that is what we will be going in detail into. Okay, so that is the important thing about this course. And also we'll be developing the dashboard from end to end as we go on covering more and more concepts. Okay, so this is actually, we can say, the introduction to this course, people. So this is the introduction to this course. Yeah, so any doubt you have with respect to this class, anyone?
No problem.
Okay, so, and as far as the data analysis expressions or the DAX is concerned, don't worry about that right now, because let me show you one of the dashboards which we developed in the previous batches. Okay, so it's kind of a very detailed one, but I'll show it to you anyways. So just to uh, have a look at the kind of DAX that we are doing. Okay, so let me show that to you. It's let me close this thing right now. Okay, so this is the dashboard we have developed, and it's not just about this page. It also consists of various measures. Okay, so all these measures we have developed in the part of our previous course. Okay, and it consists of usage of certain dynamic capabilities also we have achieved in here. For example, let's say there is this bar which looks like this. Okay, now if you analyze this bar, it basically right now it shows total box office by different categories of movies. On x-axis, you have the total box office, which is represented by certain bars. On y-axis, you have the categories of movies, like new movies, millennium movies, 90s movies, 80s movies, 70s, and so on. And the thing about this is, this visual actually is dynamic. Let me show you how that is dynamic. You have a slicer here. If you select total box office, it will show you total box office. But if you select total revenue, it shows you revenue. Okay, and not just that, if you select something like budget, it will show you the budget, and the color is also dynamic. Can you see that? Because box office, revenue are nothing but the profit kind of thing. Okay, so that is represented in terms of green, but total budget is actually what you spend, so that is represented in terms of the red bars. So these kind of dynamic capabilities we will be covering as a part of this course. And this actually is done by making use of a certain thing called as fields parameter. Fields parameter was introduced in Power BI in 2022. Okay, and it's a very handy option to come up with these things. And we'll be also doing the dynamic conditional formatting like this. Now, if you see, this is revenue, and this is the previous year revenue, and it becomes green or red based on whether it is greater than previous year revenue, or if it is smaller than previous year revenue. Let me show that to you. Let's say if I choose some year, like for example 2009. Now 2009 revenue, you can see it is greater than the previous one, which is 2008. Let me check for some other year. Now if you look at this revenue is smaller than the previous revenue. Okay, so that's why it is visible in terms of red. So these kind of dynamic conditional formatting will all be covering. Okay, and we will be dealing with different types of visuals, like the matrix visual, the table visual. Okay, and also the KPI cards, the, let's say, usage of how to get the top 5 products or the movies in this case with respect to revenues. And then we can also deal with the creation of custom visuals. Now this you are seeing here, it is actually a visual called as Sparkline. Okay, so all these things. So yeah, and the waterfall charts, how these can be done. Okay, so all these things we'll be dealing with in very much detail. And if you have a look at this also has a conditional formatting in terms of the color of the bars, the background color, the bars, the font color, and the icons. So all this thing is conditionally formatted. Okay, and how to use the KPI card. Okay, everything we'll be dealing with in detail while dealing with this course. And once this is done, we will be publishing our report into this Power BI service where we can have a look at it in terms of a dashboard like this. Okay, this dashboard we have created as a part of our course previously. And if you want to have a look at the report, we can do the reports as well. Okay. So the knowledge of all these things will be discussed in as a part of this course. Okay. So this is not, this is kind of a comprehensive dashboard. Okay. So this we will be developing as a part of our course. And one more thing about it, if you have a look at this particular graph, okay, so based on the selection here, it will show trend or year on year. Let me show you that. If I click on year button, it will show me year on year profit. Whereas if I click on trend, it will show me just a trend. Can you see this? So all these things, the bookmark capabilities, all these things will be discussed as a part of this course. So yeah, any doubts with respect to this course, people? So no doubts as of now?
No problem.
Okay. Fine then. I'll be stopping sharing my screen, and we'll hopefully meet again in the next class where we will be starting with the Power BI into the specific details. Like we'll start with the getting the data from different sources. Okay, so that's what we'll start from the next class. And yeah, thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.